You know, I don't know if any of the movies on this list are actually going to live up to the hype. I don't have 20/20 vision. "2020 is upon us, and I just wanted to take a moment to talk about my most anticipated movies of the year. So these are movies that we know for sure are getting released this year, and they already have a release date set and are pretty much locked in. I say that because at the beginning of every year, there's always a handful of movies, usually a lot more, from big-name filmmakers that I would love to include, but they're still in production and they don't actually have a release date set, and sometimes by the end of the year, they end up getting pushed back until the following year. So for the purposes of this list, we're just going to keep this to movies that we know for sure are getting released this year. They have release dates set, and unless there's any unforeseen circumstances, they're pretty much locked in for this year. I know I'm putting this out a few weeks into January, but spoiler alert, none of the movies in January were on this list. So let's jump right into it. These are my top 10 most anticipated movies of 2020.
Number 1 is Onward.
The first of two Pixar movies getting released this year focuses on two brothers in a suburban neighborhood where magic exists but is fading away, so they go on a road trip to see if they can find just enough magic so they can spend one day with their deceased father.
The combination of magic and suburbia kind of reminds me of that Netflix movie Bright, which did something similar, but to some pretty bad results. One look at this film, though, it doesn't appear it'll have any of the cringeworthy dialogue or tonal issues that film had. It looks like it has plenty of the laughs and plenty of the heart that Pixar is known for, and has a talented voice cast including Marvel favorites Tom Holland and Chris Pratt leading the charge. After 2 years of sequels, this looks to be a welcome return to original films for the animation giants. Number 2 is No Time to Die. So I've seen all the James Bond films, like literally every James Bond film. That being said, I don't know if I'd call myself a die-hard Bond fan, like even the great ones aren't all-time favorites of mine. But I have enjoyed Daniel Craig's run in particular and found these to be some of the better Bond films overall. Since this is the final film with Craig, I'm expecting this to send him out in style and give the run some sense of closure, considering it's had a solid overarching story. The fact that Rami Malek is on board as the villain is also really exciting, given how enjoyable he is when he gives a larger-than-life performance like in Bohemian Rhapsody. And considering how even great Bond villains are always somewhat over the top, he should be pretty fun to watch. And given Cary Fukunaga is behind the camera for this, especially given the intensity he brings to TV series like True Detective and Maniac, it should be the icing on the cake to make this a proper send-off for this run of films. Number 3 is The Personal History of David Copperfield. This is the 5th film adaptation of the classic Charles Dickens novel, and that's not including the countless television adaptations on top of it. But the one thing that separates this from other adaptations is Armando Iannucci, the man behind Veep, which I still actually haven't seen, but he has a string of other great movies and shows under his wing, including The Thick of It, In the Loop, and The Death of Stalin, all of which are pretty underrated actually. They're all really funny and have a great dry wit about them, and it looks like he's bringing that same energy with him to this film. The one trailer I saw looked great, and I got the sense it'll balance charm with Iannucci's signature sense of humor, so I imagine it'll be a great time.
This actually premiered last year at TIFF and received a lot of critical acclaim over there, and while I can see this potentially flying under the radar like some of Iannucci's other projects, this is easily a must-see for me. Number 4 is Soul, the second Pixar release on this list, and I actually think this will be the better of the two. This film comes from Pete Docter, who gave us Inside Out, Up, and Monsters, Inc., which were 3 of the strongest films in Pixar's catalog. I'm definitely getting some of the same vibes as Inside Out in particular. A lot of that film's visual style appears to have carried over here, so I'm really looking forward to some of the beautiful animation this film will have. It also appears this movie's going for a strong message. The trailer highlights things such as doing what makes you happy and feeling fulfilled in both your career and in life, and I think there will be something really valuable to take away from this one. The voice cast also seems great, with Jamie Foxx, Tina Fey, Daveed Diggs, and Questlove all in major roles. They should all make this a really charming experience, and I can easily see this one being a big contender for one of the year's best animated films. Number 5 is In the Heights. I admit I've never actually seen the In the Heights Broadway musical. I know it had a very successful run and won a lot of awards, but I just happened to miss out on it. This really wasn't high on my radar until I saw the trailer, and I gotta say, this actually looks like it'll be a lot of fun. I don't know the plot of the actual musical, but from what I get, it looks like it'll be this day-in-the-life sort of movie with a positive, upbeat feel, and I can really appreciate that. With so much negativity around, it's the sort of movie we could all use. Plus, I can always appreciate a great musical. It's a genre that I wish was still more prominent, so anytime I see a new musical film in the works, I'm generally looking forward to it. So you can definitely count me excited for this. Number 6 is Ghostbusters Afterlife. After years of speculation and attempts at getting this off the ground, we finally got a Ghostbusters 3. While this continues a trend of seemingly never-ending sequels to old franchises, this one has me excited in particular because it's being helmed by Jason Reitman.
Not only is this coming from the son of the first two films' director, Ivan Reitman, but Jason is a great director in his own right, with many of his films always being one of my favorites of each year, the most recent of which being Tully in 2018.
Jason Reitman is big in the independent circuit, so this is the first time tackling a major franchise, but I'm excited to see how he mixes his personal style with something like Ghostbusters.
There's also definitely a vibe here that reminds me of Stranger Things and It, both of which I really enjoyed.
So all this combined should make for a fun watch. Number 7 is Tenet. Christopher Nolan's got a new movie coming out, and it's about... I don't know. Nolan's always been very secretive about his upcoming projects, and the plots are never known until the time of release. The only thing we know about Tenet is that time travel is involved. Going by the trailer, it looks like this has a very heavy Inception vibe. That surreal, visually twisted aesthetic that was in Inception looks to be at the forefront of the Tenet trailer. Otherwise, I honestly don't know what else to expect from this one. If anything, no matter how Nolan's movies actually turn out, seeing them is always an event.
And they're always something refreshingly original in a time where sequels, reboots, and adaptations are front and center of mainstream filmmaking. So no matter what the finished product turns out to be, this will at least be one of the most unique experiences of the year. Number 8 is Last Night in Soho.
Edgar Wright stepping way out of his comfort zone and stepping deep into the world of horror. While he did dabble into the genre once with Shaun of the Dead, this is the first time he's going for something much more serious. And he's proven in the past he's fully capable of being completely serious, as evidenced with 2017's Baby Driver.
There hasn't been a trailer yet for Last Night in Soho, but one thing worth noting is the film's 1960s London setting, as well as Wright stating being influenced by horror films like Don't Look Now and Repulsion.
Knowing how stylish Wright's productions are, this should turn out to be one of the most visually pleasing films of the year.
And given the quirkiness of nearly all his films, like with Tenet, this will be a refreshingly original mainstream film in a time filled with plenty of established franchises.
Number 9 is Halloween Kills. I know some people were a bit divided on Halloween 2018, but it was one of my favorite movies of that year. Although, then again, full disclosure, before that, the only other Halloween film I saw after the original was the Rob Zombie remake. But I enjoyed the new film's many callbacks to the original, with its stylish atmosphere and John Carpenter's score. Plus, I liked its emphasis on humor, which served as a great tension reliever throughout the film. And while some of the jokes clearly felt forced in at times, to their credit, I did find them funny. So, given the fact that everyone involved with that film, from director David Gordon Green to Danny McBride co-writing it, to John Carpenter coming back to score the film, I'm hoping lightning can strike twice for this team. Literally nothing else is known about this film beyond the returning cast and crew, but that news alone makes this high on my list. Number 10 is Dune. I never read the original Dune novel, but I did try watching the David Lynch adaptation and didn't really care for it. Though I know how respected the novel is, and I can't think of anyone better than Denis Villeneuve to adapt an ambitious story like this. The guy clearly knows what it takes when writing and directing clever sci-fi films. He gave us a worthy sequel to Blade Runner 2 years ago,
And the year before that gave us one of the best sci-fi films in recent years with Arrival.
I've seen all of his films since Prisoners in 2013, and he's been crushing it nearly every time. He knows how to be intense, highly emotional, and even thought-provoking, and he clearly has a vision when he approaches each film. This, along with a stacked cast that includes fan favorites such as Timothée Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, Oscar Isaac, and Josh Brolin,
makes Dune what will surely be one of the biggest movies to look forward to when we get to the end of the year.
We definitely have a great year to look forward to, and what's nice is this is just what we know about now. Like every year, there's sure to be a ton of surprises along the way, from Oscar contenders to festival favorites to other indie hits that'll just come out of nowhere, sometimes at the last second. We'll see what the year has in store, and I'm very much looking forward to the ride. But let me know, what movies are you looking forward to in 2020? Is it any of the movies on this list? Did I leave something off that you're really looking forward to? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, if you like what you see, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, guys. We have a great year to look forward to. I'll catch you next time.